You already made the wish. You just don't know what you agreed to give in return. In the next 10 minutes, you are going to learn that the Jinn is not a wish-granting creature. It is a contract-enforcing one. You will learn where the Jinn actually comes from, and why almost everything popular culture taught you about it is wrong. You will learn the one rule that every tradition involving the Jinn agrees on across 14 centuries of recorded history. And at the end, there is a decision waiting for you. Would you take the deal? Stay with me. The word Jinn, sometimes written Jinn, comes from the Arabic root meaning to conceal, to hide, to be invisible. These beings are old, far older than the stories most people know. They predate Islam by well over 1,000 years. In pre-Islamic Arabian belief, the world was shared between humans and the Jinn, beings made of smokeless fire, existing in a parallel layer of reality that intersected with ours at specific times and in specific places. They were not good. They were not evil. They were powerful, autonomous, and indifferent to human welfare. Pre-Islamic Arab poets believed their creative inspiration came from a personal Jinn, a spirit companion that fed them lines in the night. When a poet produced extraordinary work, it was said his Jinn was exceptionally powerful. The Jinn was not feared. It was negotiated with. That negotiation, its terms, its dangers, its consequences, is what every story in this tradition is actually about. When Islam arrived in the 7th century CE, the Jinn were not erased from the cosmology. They were integrated into it. The Quran has an entire chapter dedicated to them. Surah Al-Jinn, chapter 72. In it, a group of Jinn overhear the Quran being recited and convert to Islam. This is theologically significant. It means the Jinn, in Islamic belief, are not demons. They are a separate category of created being with free will, moral accountability, and the capacity for both righteousness and sin. Some Jinn are Muslim, some are not. Some are malevolent. Most exist somewhere in the space between. The Quran's treatment of them is not allegorical. It is literal. For over 1 billion people today, the Jinn are real. Islamic scholarly tradition identifies 5 distinct categories of Jinn. The married, the most powerful, associated with open water and the sea. These are the Jinn of the wish-granting stories, but they are also the most dangerous to bargain with. The Ifrit, made of smokeless fire, defined by cunning and the capacity for long, patient vengeance. The Ifrit does not forget. The Shaitan, defined by rebellion and hostility toward humans. This is where the word Satan derives its meaning, not as a name, but as a description of opposition. The Ghoul, predatory, shape-shifting, associated with graveyards. From this word comes the English ghoul, though the original is far older and far more specific. And the Sila, master shapeshifters, able to perfectly replicate any human being, the most dangerous to encounter precisely because you will not know you have. Survival rule. Never state a wish without defining exactly what you will give in return. The Jinn does not grant, it enforces a contract. The terms you leave undefined are the terms it will choose for you. Every tradition involving the Jinn across 14 centuries agrees on this single point. Precision is the only protection you have. Here is what every popular retelling of this story removes. The wish is not the primary transaction. The contract is. In the classical Arabic tradition, in the 1001 Nights, in the Islamic scholarly texts, in the oral traditions of Arabia, Persia, and North Africa, The Jinn does not simply appear and offer gifts. It is summoned, bound, compelled through ritual, through the use of its true name, through specific invocations that took years of study to master. The summoner and the Jinn entered a negotiation. Terms were stated, limits were defined. The consequences of breaking those limits, on either side, were severe. The danger was never in the wish. The danger was in the ambiguity. Across the folklore of every culture with Jinn stories, Arabic, Persian, Turkish, South Asian, North African, the cautionary tales share one structural failure. The human states a wish that is technically fulfilled in a way they did not intend. You wish for gold, and wake buried beneath it, suffocating. You wish to live forever, and watch every person you have ever loved age and die around you. While you remain, you wish for your enemy to disappear, and find yourself alone in a world where you have no enemies, because there is no one left at all. The Jinn was not cruel in any of these cases. It was precise. You gave it an imprecise instruction. It executed that instruction exactly as stated. The contract was honored. You simply did not understand the contract you had entered. The most important Jinn story in the entire tradition, the one that established the rules for every story that followed, is the story of Solomon. In both Islamic and Jewish tradition, Solomon, son of David, was given a ring engraved with the name of God that gave him dominion over the Jinn. He used them to build the Temple of Jerusalem, to gather knowledge from the edges of the known world, to accomplish in decades what would have taken centuries of human labor. When Solomon died, or in some versions, when he fell into a deep sleep, the Jinn bound to him were freed. They scattered. They retreated into wilderness, into water, into specific objects, into lamps, into bottles, into sealed rings, containers for Jinn who were bound by Solomon and have been waiting inside ever since. Which means the creature you find in that lamp is not grateful to be released. It has been imprisoned for 3,000 years. It has had 3,000 years to think about what it does next. In 1704, a French Orientalist named Antoine Galland published the first European translation of 1001 Nights. It was not a faithful translation. It was an adaptation, shaped for an Enlightenment French audience that wanted exoticism and wonder, not theological complexity and moral ambiguity. Galland softened the Jinn. He removed the autonomy. He removed the danger. He introduced the three-wish structure, which does not appear in the original Arabic texts, because it gave the story a clean, legible shape for Western readers. He also added Aladdin. Aladdin does not appear in the earliest known manuscripts of 1001 Nights. It was a story Galland either invented entirely or adapted from an oral source he never documented. The most famous Jinn story in the Western world was written by a French academic. The Jinn of Disney, the Jinn of Robin Williams, and Three Wishes and Cheerful Servitude descends directly from Galland's 1704 invention. The original Married does not count your wishes. It does not celebrate your cleverness when you outsmart it. It does not desire its own freedom. It desires the execution of the contract and nothing else. The benevolent genie is a colonial fantasy. The creature in the original texts is something that has been thinking about your imprecision for 3,000 years. The three-wish rule is a French invention from 1704. In the original Arabic tradition, there is no limit on what can be asked. There is only the contract, and the consequences of what you leave undefined. Scholars of Islamic theology and anthropologists of Middle Eastern folklore describe the Jinn as a representation of forces that operate outside human moral categories. Not evil, not good, powerful, and governed by rules that are not human rules. The Jinn stories encode a specific and consistent warning across 14 centuries of telling. You cannot impose your own assumptions onto a transaction with something that does not share your frame of reference. The wish that destroys you was always going to destroy you. From the moment you stated it imprecisely, you gave it room. It used the room. Disney's 1992 Aladdin gave the Jinn to an entire generation as a figure of pure generosity. A being whose highest purpose was service, whose power was fundamentally comedic, and whose deepest desire was simply to be free. This version of the Jinn is entirely Galland's invention, filtered through 200 years of European adaptation, and then animated by a Hollywood studio. It has almost no relationship to the creature in the original texts. In The Witcher 3, Gaunter O'Dim, Master Mirror, is the perfect modern Jinn. He is polite, clinical, and utterly lethal. He doesn't kill you, he simply waits for you to fail the terms of the deal. Horror cinema has spent decades trying to restore the original logic. The Wishmaster franchise, which ran through 4 films from 1997 to 2002, returned to the contractual precision of the source material. Its Jinn grants every wish exactly as stated, technically, completely, with absolute indifference to the human cost of precision. This is closer to the original creature. The horror is not that it is evil. The horror is that it is correct. Here is what Western discussions of the Jinn almost never acknowledge. For hundreds of millions of people, this is not a story. It is theology. Belief in the Jinn is mainstream Islamic teaching. The Quran names them. Hadiths describe encounters with them. Islamic scholars across centuries have debated the conditions under which Jinn can possess humans, the religious procedures for protection, and the correct method of dealing with a Jinn that has attached itself to a person or place. In the Arab world, North Africa, South Asia, and the broader Muslim diaspora, Jinn possession, the state of being influenced or inhabited by a Jinn, is treated as a real medical and spiritual condition, requiring specific religious intervention. This is not folklore at the margins of a tradition. It is central to the lived experience of over 1 billion people. The survival rule in this episode is not metaphorical for all of its audience. So here is the verdict. The Jinn does not grant wishes. It enforces contracts. The terms you don't define, it defines for you. Vote 1 in the comments if you would take the deal. You believe you are precise enough. You would define the terms correctly. Vote 2 if you would walk away. No deal is worth entering a contract with something that has been thinking about your imprecision for 3,000 years. I read every single one. And the rule, carry it with you. Final rule. Never state a wish without defining exactly what you will give in return. The terms you leave open are the terms it chooses. You cannot outsmart something by being clever after the contract is signed. You can only survive by being precise before you sign it. Next week, a case file about a man and a treasure. The treasure didn't corrupt him. He chose the corruption. Slowly, completely. One decision at a time. And by the time he understood what he had become, there was no going back. Monster Verdict. New case every Thursday.